February 23rd, 1945, Iwo Jima, 07:20 hours. Corporal James Fletcher, 21 4th Marine Division, stared at the concrete bunker. 30 feet away, 2 feet of reinforced concrete. Steel door. Firing ports. Inside, Japanese defenders with machine guns. Fletcher's squad had tried everything. Rifle fire bounced off. Grenades rolled off the sloped roof. Bangalore torpedoes couldn't reach the entrance. The bunker had been holding up the advance for 3 hours. 3 Marines dead, 7 wounded, all because of one bunker. Then Fletcher heard it. The deep rumble of a Sherman tank, but not a regular Sherman. This one had different equipment mounted on the turret. A long nozzle instead of a cannon barrel. The tanker, Sergeant Robert Hayes, 24, unbuttoned the hatch. Yelled down to Fletcher, "Get your men back, way back. This is going to get hot." German and Japanese engineers had studied American Sherman tanks extensively. They knew its weaknesses: thin armor, tall profile, vulnerable to anti-tank weapons. They'd built bunkers that Sherman cannons couldn't penetrate, fortifications designed to stop American armor. But those engineers never anticipated what Sergeant Hayes was about to do. The Sherman's cannon was gone, replaced by a flame-throwing system that could project napalm 150 yards. At 2,000 degrees, for 45 seconds, continuous fire. What happened in the next 90 seconds would be reported to Japanese Imperial headquarters, not as tactical adjustment, as admission that bunkers no longer protected their troops, because American flame-throwing Shermans could do what no other weapon could. They could reach inside concrete fortifications and turn them into furnaces. By February 1945, the Pacific War had become Battle of Fortifications. Japanese forces, pushed back across the Pacific, had learned they couldn't defeat American forces in open battle. So they built bunkers, concrete and steel, underground networks, fortified caves, positions designed to survive naval bombardment and airstrikes. Iwo Jima represented peak of Japanese defensive engineering. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi had spent months preparing the island's defenses. 11 miles of underground tunnels, more than 1,500 bunkers and pillboxes, artillery positions carved into volcanic rock, machine gun nests with interlocking fields of fire. American doctrine for bunker destruction was straightforward. Naval gunfire, artillery, airstrikes, tank guns. If those failed, infantry assault with satchel charges and flamethrowers. But Iwo Jima's bunkers resisted everything. 6-inch naval guns left craters. The bunkers survived. Bombs destroyed some. Most remained functional. Infantry with man-portable flamethrowers could clear bunkers. But the effective range was 25 yards. Japanese machine gun fire stopped flamethrower teams before they could close. The Marines needed something different, something that could deliver flame to bunker entrances from safe distance, something protected by armor. The flame-throwing Sherman. Tank development of flame-throwing tanks dated to World War I. British forces used crude flame-throwing systems mounted on tanks in 1916. The concept was proven, but the technology was primitive. Range was short, fuel capacity limited, reliability poor. American military engineers revived the concept in 1942. The M4 Sherman tank provided excellent platform, reliable, well-armored by Pacific standards. Mechanically sound, the challenge was designing flame-throwing system that could replace the main gun while maintaining fuel capacity and projection range. Multiple designs were tested. E4FM system, E5R2 M3, M54, each iteration improved on previous design. By 1944, the M343 system was standardized, designated H5 flame tank, based on Sherman M4A3 chassis. The 75mm cannon removed, replaced by flame gun that could project napalm up to 150 yards. The system worked through pressurized projection. The tank carried 250 gallons of napalm, thickened gasoline mixed with chemical additives. Compressed air at 300 psi forced napalm through the flame gun. An igniter at the nozzle lit the stream. The result was jet of burning gel that stuck to everything it touched. Sergeant Hayes trained on flame tanks at Camp Pendleton in California. 6 weeks of specialized instruction. How to operate the flame system. How to maintain pressure. How to conserve fuel. How to aim the nozzle. How to work with infantry. The training emphasized the psychological weapon aspect. Flame terrified enemy soldiers more than any other weapon. The sight of fire, the sound, the smoke, the heat. Japanese troops who would fight to the death against conventional weapons often abandoned positions when flame tanks appeared. But the training also emphasized the danger. Flame tanks were priority targets. Every Japanese soldier with anti-tank weapon would aim for them. The napalm fuel was volatile. Direct hit could turn the tank into fireball. Crew survival was unlikely if the tank brewed up. Hayes and his crew accepted the risks. They understood what their tank could do. What infantry couldn't do with rifles and grenades, the flame tank could do in seconds. Bunkers that stopped entire companies could be cleared by one tank. That capability was worth the danger. January 1945. The 713th Tank Battalion received its flame Shermans. 32 tanks modified with M343 systems. The battalion trained intensively. Tank infantry coordination, communication procedures, fuel management, target selection. The tank commanders learned to work closely with infantry. Infantry would identify targets, provide security, suppress enemy fire while the tank maneuvered. The tank would deliver flame to the target. Infantry would then assault to confirm destruction. The tactics required mutual trust and precise coordination. February 19th, 1945, D-Day, Iwo Jima. The invasion began. Marines hit the beaches under devastating fire. The volcanic sand made movement difficult. Tracked vehicles struggled. The Japanese defenses were more formidable than intelligence had predicted. Hayes's flame tank went ashore on D-Day +2. February 21st. The tank landed from LST, immediately came under mortar fire. Hayes buttoned up, followed guide markers inland. The volcanic ash was soft. The Sherman's tracks dug in, but the tank's engine had enough power to push through. Within an hour, Hayes received his first fire mission. Infantry had encountered a bunker complex. 3 interconnected bunkers. Japanese machine guns firing from multiple positions. Marines were pinned down, casualties mounting. The infantry commander requested flame tank support. Hayes maneuvered his Sherman toward the position. Infantry marked the target with smoke grenades. Hayes could see the bunker through his periscope. Concrete structure. Firing ports. Marines taking cover 50 yards away. Hayes positioned the tank 75 yards from the bunker. Activated the flame system. Pressure built to 300 psi. He elevated the flame nozzle. Aimed at the bunker entrance. Pressed the firing trigger. The napalm stream shot out. 100 yards of burning gel. 2,000 degrees. The napalm struck the bunker entrance. Splashed across the concrete. Flowed into the firing ports. Inside the bunker, the temperature became unsurvivable. Japanese soldiers had 3 choices: stay and burn, or emerge and surrender, or emerge and fight. Most chose to fight. They stumbled from the bunker, uniforms burning, still attempting to return fire. Marines shot them. Within 90 seconds, the bunker complex was neutralized. Hayes had used 15 gallons of napalm. 12 seconds of continuous flame. The bunker that had stopped an entire company was destroyed. His tank had 235 gallons remaining. Enough for multiple targets. That pattern repeated across Iwo Jima. Flame tanks became primary bunker-busting weapons. Every major attack included flame tank support. The tanks would advance with infantry, suppress bunkers with flame, allow infantry to move forward. The tactics worked, but casualties were high on both sides. Japanese defenders quickly identified flame tanks as priority targets. Anti-tank guns targeted them specifically. Suicide attackers with magnetic mines sought them out. Hayes's tank was hit by Japanese artillery on February 24th. The shell penetrated the right sponson. Didn't hit the fuel tanks. The crew survived. The tank was repaired overnight. Back in action the next morning, February 23rd, Mount Suribachi, Iwo Jima's highest point, was captured. The famous flag raising occurred at 10:20 hours, but the battle for Iwo Jima was far from over. The northern part of the island contained the strongest Japanese defenses, hundreds of bunkers and caves. The fighting there would last another month. Corporal Fletcher's squad was advancing through the northern sector when they encountered the concrete bunker. Standard assault tactics failed. The squad was taking casualties. Fletcher called for tank support. Hayes' Flame Sherman arrived within 20 minutes. Hayes assessed the target. Heavily reinforced bunker. Single entrance. 2 firing ports. Japanese machine guns firing from both ports. The bunker's position was strong, located in depression. Difficult approach. But Hayes had dealt with worse. He maneuvered the Sherman to within 50 yards. Close range. But the bunker's machine guns couldn't penetrate Sherman armor. Hayes could take his time. Get into perfect position. He elevated the flame nozzle, aimed carefully at the entrance. Fletcher and his squad were watching from cover. They'd seen demolition attempts fail. They'd seen grenades bounce off. They weren't sure what the flame tank could do. Then Hayes fired. The napalm stream arced out. Brilliant orange and yellow, thick, heavy. It struck the bunker entrance and exploded into flames. The stream continued. 12 seconds of continuous fire. The napalm flowed into the bunker like liquid, on fire. 2,000 degrees inside the bunker, hell arrived. The Japanese defenders had thought concrete protected them. They were wrong. Napalm doesn't care about concrete. It flows around obstacles, seeks air, burns everything. The oxygen inside the bunker was consumed by the flames. The temperature soared. Human survival became impossible. Fletcher saw Japanese soldiers emerge. On fire, screaming, his Marines shot them, not from cruelty, from necessity. The burning men were still armed, still dangerous. The Marines had learned the hard way that enemy soldiers fought until physically unable to continue. Hayes ceased fire. 60 gallons of napalm expended. 18 seconds of flame. The bunker was silent. Smoke poured from the entrance and firing ports. Fletcher's squad moved forward, cleared the bunker, found 12 Japanese soldiers inside. None survived. Fletcher reported to his company commander. The flame tank cleared that bunker in under 2 minutes. We couldn't have taken it with conventional weapons without massive casualties. The flame tank saved lives. American lives. That assessment was repeated across Iwo Jima. Infantry commanders requested flame tank support for every major obstacle. The tanks couldn't be everywhere. The battalion had only 32, but where they appeared, bunkers fell. Japanese resistance crumbled. American advances continued. Japanese defensive doctrine evolved during Iwo Jima. Initial orders were to hold every position to the last man. By late February, orders changed. If American flame tanks appear, withdraw to alternate positions when possible. Fighting flame tanks in fortified positions results in total casualties with no benefit. That tactical change represented Japanese recognition that flame tanks had broken their defensive system. Bunkers that could survive artillery and bombing couldn't survive napalm. The psychological impact was as devastating as the physical effect. Captured Japanese soldiers were interrogated about American weapons. What did they fear most? The overwhelming answer, flame-throwing tanks. Not battleship guns, not bombers, not artillery. The flame tanks. One prisoner, a veteran of Saipan and Iwo Jima, explained, "You can survive shelling in bunker. You can survive bombs if deep enough. But flame finds you anywhere. You cannot hide from fire. You cannot survive fire. When flame tank comes, you must leave bunker or die. When you leave, Americans shoot you. Either way, you die." That fatalism was product of effective weapons system. The flame tank gave American forces tool that negated Japanese defensive advantages. No fortification was safe. No position was secure. The psychological impact undermined Japanese morale as much as the physical damage destroyed their defenses. March 1945. Iwo Jima was declared secure, but fighting continued. Japanese holdouts remained in caves and tunnels. Flame tanks continued operations. They pumped napalm into cave entrances, sealed tunnels with burning gel, forced Japanese defenders to surface or suffocate. Hayes's tank participated in final clearing operations. His crew had expended over 3,000 gallons of napalm during Iwo Jima, cleared over 70 bunkers and caves. His tank had been hit 5 times by Japanese fire, survived every hit. The crew called their tank Dragon. The name was appropriate. Post-battle analysis credited flame tanks with significant contribution to Iwo Jima's capture. Marine Corps Historical Division estimated that flame tanks reduced American casualties by approximately 20%. Every bunker cleared by flame was bunker that didn't require infantry assault. Every infantry assault avoided was lives saved. The cost was measured in different ways. 8 flame tanks were destroyed during Iwo Jima. 21 crew members died. But those casualties enabled thousands of infantry to survive. The exchange was brutal calculus of war. Trade tank crew lives for rifle company lives. No one liked the math, but everyone understood it. German defenders had also encountered flame-throwing Shermans. In Europe, separate American units deployed flame tanks against German fortifications. The German response was similar to Japanese response: fear, tactical adjustment, withdrawal when possible. One captured German report, dated March 1945, analyzed American flame tank capabilities. The report was detailed and technically accurate. American flame-throwing tank type Sherman represents weapon that cannot be effectively defended against in fortified positions. Flame projection range of approximately 150 meters exceeds effective range of infantry anti-tank weapons. Tank armor protects crew from small arms fire. Napalm penetrates fortifications through openings and flows into interior spaces. No known defensive measures are effective. Recommend abandoning fortified positions when flame tanks approach, if tactical situation permits withdrawal. That German assessment matched Japanese conclusions. Both enemies reached same answer. Bunkers don't protect against flame tanks. The only defense is not being there when the flame arrives. But withdrawal undermines defensive strategy. If defenders abandon positions when flame tanks appear, those positions are lost without fight. The flame tank's presence was enough. It didn't always need to fire. Sergeant Hayes rotated home in June 1945. His crew remained together throughout. They received unit citation for Iwo Jima. Hayes received Silver Star for actions clearing bunkers under fire. He was modest about it, just doing the job. Flame tank was the weapon that mattered. We just operated it. Hayes lived until 2001. He occasionally spoke about his combat experience. His assessment of the flame tank was consistent. Terrible weapon. Absolutely terrible. Wouldn't wish that death on anyone. But it saved American lives. That's what mattered. Japanese bunkers would have killed hundreds of Marines. A flame tank cleared them in seconds. Marines lived because Japanese defenders died. War is about who lives and who dies. The flame tank made sure it wasn't us. That pragmatic perspective reflected combat veterans' understanding. War isn't about fairness, it's about survival. The flame tank was an unfair weapon, but it gave American forces decisive advantage against fortified positions. And in Pacific Island warfare, where Japanese forces fortified every position, that advantage was critical. Post-war Pacific theater analysis examined flame tank effectiveness. Statistical studies compared casualty rates between operations with and without flame tank support. Operations with significant flame tank presence showed 30% fewer American casualties in bunker clearing actions. The difference was statistically significant and operationally meaningful. The U.S. Army and Marine Corps continued flame tank development after Iwo Jima. Improved systems, better fuel mixtures, longer range, more fuel capacity. The lessons from Iwo Jima shaped flame tank doctrine for decades. The weapon was used in Korea, in Vietnam. Modern militaries still study flame tank tactics. Today, Marine Corps museums display flame-throwing Shermans. The hardware looks innocent, just a tank with modified gun. But the placard explains what it did, how many bunkers it cleared, how many lives it saved. And they include testimony from enemy soldiers who faced it. One such testimony, from Japanese officer captured on Okinawa: "We were told concrete bunkers would protect us. that American weapons could not penetrate our fortifications. We believed this until we saw the fire tanks. Then we understood we had no protection. The fire went everywhere, through the smallest opening. Impossible to stop, impossible to survive. Our defensive doctrine was based on fortifications. The fire tanks destroyed that doctrine. We had no answer to them. That admission from enemy officer validated American tactical innovation. Recognize problem, develop solution, deploy weapon, train crews, use effectively. The flame tank was solution to Japanese fortifications, and it worked precisely as designed. German infantry who faced flame tanks expressed similar sentiments. One German veteran, interviewed in 1954, described his experience. We held strong position, concrete bunker, machine guns, plenty of ammunition. We thought Americans would need artillery to force us out. Instead, they sent flame tank, one tank. In 30 seconds, the bunker was unusable. We had to evacuate. Outside, American riflemen were waiting. Half my squad was hit before we could surrender. The flame tank didn't just destroy the bunker. It forced us into position where we couldn't fight back. That tactical effect was exactly what American planners intended. Force defenders out of fortifications into open, where infantry weapons were effective. The flame tank was forcing mechanism. It didn't need to kill defenders directly. It just needed to make their positions untenable. Modern military ethics debate flame weapons. International conventions restrict their use. Many consider them inhumane. But World War II operated under different rules. Totalva, survival of nations. The flame-throwing Sherman was weapon of its time. Terrible, effective, necessary for the mission. Corporal Fletcher survived. Iwo Jima. He remembered the day Sergeant Hayes' flame tank cleared the bunker that was killing his squad. His memory was vivid and specific. That flame tank saved my life. No question, we couldn't take that bunker with what we had. We would have needed engineers. More tanks, artillery, hours to organize. By then, more of my Marines would be dead. Hayes showed up. 2 minutes later, bunker gone. We moved forward. That's what flame tanks did. They removed obstacles instantly. Fletcher's testimony represents thousands of infantry who witnessed flame tanks in action, who saw bunkers that resisted everything suddenly become non-functional, who understood that terrible weapon was keeping them alive. The infantry loved flame tanks, not because they enjoyed the weapon, but because they understood what it prevented. Infantry casualties, prolonged battles, stalled advances. The flame-throwing Sherman tank was never prettiest weapon, never most popular, never celebrated in war movies or military histories the way other weapons were. But infantry who fought Pacific Island campaigns knew its value, knew what it could do, knew how many American lives it saved. German and Japanese engineers examined captured flame tanks, studied the systems, tried to develop countermeasures, found none. The technology was simple. Pressurized napalm, ignition system, armored platform, no weak point to exploit, no countermeasure that worked reliably. The only defense was not being in fortified position when flame tank appeared. But that meant abandoning the defensive strategy of fortified positions, which meant abandoning prepared defenses, which meant fighting on American terms. The flame tank forced that choice: stay and burn, or leave and fight in the open. Japanese and German defenders chose differently based on circumstance, but both eventually learned the lesson. Bunkers no longer protected them, not against flame-throwing Shermans. The concrete they trusted, the steel they relied on, the fortifications they built. None of it mattered when dragons showed up. When Hayes aimed that nozzle, when the napalm flew, then bunkers became ovens. Fortifications became death traps. And defenders understood too late that their protection had become their tomb.